Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Sara Mehle. She's ESG index strategist with Nasdaq Global Indexes to discuss an index designed to track the performance of a selection of companies engaged in the global video games and esports industry. Sara, it's great to see you as always. Certainly gaming, a hot topic on Trade Talks. Tell us about the player index and the methodology behind it.
Hey, Jill, yeah, so today we're talking about the Nasdaq CTA Global Video Games and Esports Index, which, as you mentioned, is designed to track those companies that are engaged in the global video games and esports industry. We partner on this index with the Consumer Technology Association, otherwise known as CTA. So CTA must classify an issuer as a video games and esports related business for those issuers to make it into this index, into these particular sectors and subsectors. So we're looking at developers and publishers, esports, hardware, consoles, esport media, PC, and even some about the XR and augmented reality subsectors. So we've seen some of the trend, consumer behavior trends shift with the stay at home and post-COVID. Mobile gaming has really picked up, and just some huge innovations in technology like facial recognition continues to drive this particular industry forward.
Yeah, and Sara, let's talk about some of those trends that CTA has shown us here.
Yeah, so we were looking at research with CTA over the last year or so, and they really pulled out the 4 M's that they've noticed. So mergers, metaverse, mobile, and monetization. So in 2021, there was a record almost 1,200 transactions and 85 billion in gaming industry deals. And then collectively, just in Q1 of this year, we saw all of the M&A activity exceed what we saw in all of 2021. So that's huge. We know that the metaverse, it's a buzzword, everyone's talking about it. The metaverse is up and coming. Morgan Stanley quantifies the metaverse as a potentially $8.3 trillion consumer expenditure. And while metaverse really is conceptual at this point, we have seen that sort of technology play over into role-playing and simulator games, and we've even seen it in concerts and some sports viewing as well.
And if we take a deeper dive into the holdings within the index, what kind of companies are in there?
Sure. So right now there's 49 stocks within the player index. The top 10 stocks do account for about 66% of the index. So some of those more popular names in the top 10, including Nintendo, Roblox, Electronic Arts, Tencent, and Nexon, Take-Two Interactive as well. We really see that top CTA sector right now really it's really going to be the developer and publishers. And then within the subsectors, we've seen overweight to particular consoles. And just with the nature of this index, has overweight to the small cap stocks right now at 55%. And the Asia Pacific region does account for the majority of the index at 58%. However, when we drill down to the individual country level, it is the United States that has the largest single country rating or weighting at 32.5%.
And Sara, just like other sectors within the market, we've seen a valuation shift this year for sure. Has that impacted this index?
Yeah, so when we're looking at player, the performance story here, which we'll view on the next slide, really, has been tough with the sell-off that we saw in technology over the last year, especially since the inception date is November 9th of 2021. But when we look kind of at the fundamental story, we do see, the index overall becoming cheaper, if you will, looking at those various price to book, price to earnings values. And so with that, we're able to pair that with the performance story to build a case for this particular sector and industry. Again, looking at some of those numbers and looking at the potential growth opportunity here.
And finally, how about performance relative to peer?
Sure. So like I mentioned, performance since inception, we have seen it fall double digits. Same with year to date. It's right around the same date. So again, inception November 9th of 2021. We have seen, however, I just checked on a quarter to date basis through yesterday's close, the index is up 1.5%, and which is right in line with some competitor indexes in the same space. So looking at the Selected Video Games and Esports Index, as well as the MVIS Global Video Game and Esports Index, we've really seen the index bounce again from the recent lows. We're up a little 8.8% through August 15th. And so we did see those massive, or significant drawdowns with the overall tech sector and the overall market. Really, we have seen some some positive news come here, into the video games and esports space.
All right, Sarah, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.